Dips are an amazing exercise that work your chest, triceps, and shoulders, and can be scaled to high resistance levels, with variations like ring dips. But even regular dips can be hard to work up to. With an exercise like push-ups, there's an easy progression pathway with elevated push-ups, but there's not an obvious option like that when it comes to dips. There are still some things you could do to make the journey easier. Here's an in-depth guide to learning dips, starting with the basics. I know this isn't a calisthenics option, but if you're low in strength and or have a high body weight, dip machines may be the best place for you to start. You won't need to worry about supporting your entire weight. You can add resistance in a gradual and controlled manner, and the nature of these machines means that you have the support and guidance of them throughout the movement. This is the time to be building good form habits though. For any dip variation, keep your shoulder blades depressed, meaning back and down. Don't let your upper back round forward, and keep your elbows from flaring out to the side. They should stay close above your wrists. The full movement should always be controlled, almost graceful. You don't need to be able to rep your whole body weight at this point, but being able to at least push and hold your body weight is a starting point for the next dip variations. Once you're ready for bodyweight variations, bench dips are a common entry-level dip that require no more than a sturdy chair or table. They're good for building joint strength and learning how to maintain form. You can also adjust the difficulty level easily by playing around with foot placement. However, bench dips have slightly different ergonomics compared to regular dips due to the difference in arm placement relative to your body. They don't let you work on core engagement as much, and they won't prepare you for the difficulty of a regular dip. These next two options are a step up in difficulty, but they simulate true dips better than bench dips do. The first option is to do a regular dip, but take some of the weight off your arms by resting one leg on the ground or some other support. You need to be conscious about how you do this though. You need to prioritize pushing with your arms. Your leg is meant to pick up the remaining slack to get you moving upwards, not the other way around. As you get stronger, you need to focus on using that leg less and less until it's essentially just resting on the floor, not doing any of the work. If you're not already mentally in tune with your body and you feel like you can't control that balance well, you might be better off ignoring this option. The other choice is to set a resistance band around the arms of a squat rack and place your feet onto that. This is definitely my favorite choice, though you need to already be quite athletic in order to do them. You'll need to experiment with different heights and thicknesses for the band, but once you get the right level, it's easy to adjust for harder difficulty. This version also trains the core muscles because your legs are free to shake if you're not engaging them. You can get a full range set of bands like this off Amazon for about $35, and you can use the same technique for pull-ups if you're training those as well, so I'd say it's a worthy investment. As a little bonus option here, if you go to a gym that has one, the easiest option is to use an assisted dip pull-up machine like this. These give you the greatest ease of use and are the most straightforward when it comes to adjusting the weight. Unfortunately, since your legs are just sitting on that pad, there isn't much core engagement going on here, and being a gym, they might only have one of these and it might be taken when you need to train. But you might find it a worthy trade-off to focus on this. Now, for reps and sets, assuming you prioritize getting stronger over increasing size, you want to utilize a heavy load, fewer reps, and more sets. As a guideline, shoot for 4 to 6 sets, about 6 to 10 reps to failure, at the hardest progression you could perform with good form. Once you could do 12 or more reps for 3 sets consistently, it's time to overload your muscles again by bumping up the difficulty level. Congratulations, you're now training through the full range of motion of a standard dip using primarily your body weight. You'll now spend the next few months on a plateau trying to figure out how to do a dip without the assistance underneath your feet. This is where standard weightlifting progression will come up short and calisthenics expertise shines. Those familiar with calisthenics will tell you, isometrics and negatives play a huge part in achieving harder moves. Dip holds are a secret sauce in this case. Set yourself up at the top position of a dip, raise your feet off the ground, and hold until you can't hold anymore. Try to keep your shoulders depressed. When you reach that point of fatigue, don't just drop down. Lower yourself as slowly and smoothly as possible. It'll be hard and maybe boring at first, but these two parts of the exercise, known as the isometric and the second part being the eccentric or negative movement, are very important. For calisthenics, many exercises like dips have limited progression options. Isometrics and negatives help us practice these harder movements while making massive gains to our strength. Even for regular weight training, the eccentric movement is often overlooked by many beginners despite being important to muscle strength and growth. To work in as many negatives as you can, I suggest repeating the process of holding yourself up, lowering down slowly, catching your breath briefly, and then jumping back up until you're fatigued. Then you can rest for a few minutes, and you could do this as sets. All of this being said, negatives, while important, are obviously only half the picture. You still need to build strength in the pushing up or the concentric portion of the exercise in order to do a full dip. That's why I recommend training negatives alongside training a full range of motion with an easier exercise. In this case, it would be holds and negatives on the bar combined with something like a banded dip or a machine dip. You can do these exercises separately, but if your equipment is set up for it, it's more efficient to do them in supersets. If you train like this with consistency, progressive overloading, and proper recovery, you'll be at a full dip in no time. Once you've mastered a normal dip, you've done the hardest part, but you can still push yourself a little further. Ring dips are seen as a beautiful achievement of athleticism, and they aren't as hard to do as you might imagine. The biggest challenge introduced by ring dips is instability. As soon as you get yourself up, your arms are going to shake back and forth, probably intensely, making it very difficult to stay up, let alone move down. This is normal and gives us our starting point. Holds. Get yourself up and try to keep your arms by your side for as long as you can. If you're concerned about jumping up, you can use a platform like a box to step off from, although you do need to build up that confidence to just jump on up. The closer your arms are to your side and the more you have them locked out at the elbow, the easier it will be to hold yourself up. As you start to move them away from your side, or if you start to bend your elbows, you'll feel the difficulty increase. Thankfully, muscular stability is something you can get decent at very quickly. You might even nail this in a week or two if you practice for 20 or 30 minutes every day. Since you should already have the strength for regular dips by this point, once you master holds on the rings, it's straight into full ring dips. You might still have some shakiness to start with, but with practice you'll be going through the full range of motion smoothly. Now for form. Of course, you want your shoulders depressed and your elbows tucked in by your sides. But at the top position, you also want to make sure that your palms are facing outwards. Now, as you drop down through the motion, your palms should gradually rotate until they're facing inwards at the base of the motion. I should mention, setting up your rings can be a little bit of a hassle, especially if you have to take them down and put them back up if you're going to a public gym. Now for spacing, I recommend about shoulders width apart, maybe a little bit wider if you want more of a challenge. For height, if you're jumping off from the floor, you want the dips to be set at the bottom no lower than your shoulders. For acquiring your rings, there are hundreds of options. Personally, I went the cheap and easy route. I ordered mine off Amazon for about $30 pre-COVID. The very simple construction material, but you can go further up. You can get wooden material and higher quality. Whatever you choose, the two most important things are, number one, you're comfortable and confident in the material and in that producer. The second thing is looking at the attachment mechanism for how it hooks around the bar. Just make sure that when you're buying your dips, you look at that and you make sure that it's something that you can attach and use wherever you plan to train. Now, that's all for me. Hopefully this video has covered most, if not all, of the knowledge you need to tackle dips. The rest is up to you. Just remember to be patient and don't get complacent. Best of luck. And if you feel like I missed something important, or if you found your own tips and tricks for doing dips, drop them down in the comment section below. Take care.